ask Chief how this kind of relates to, especially what we're seeing from a staffing perspective and the stresses that puts on the resources you're trying to put on the street, and can you just briefly walk over what that looks like and how difficult that might make this particular issue contributes to that?
Absolutely. It is not uncommon for us to regularly see anywhere from 3 or 4 to 7 police officers on any given shift being tied up for the duration of a shift sitting on mental health patients. One example I'll share with you is several months ago we had an overnight shift in the city. We had 12 officers and 2 supervisors working, so 14 uniformed personnel working that night. And out of those 12 officers that were working, 7 of the 12 of them were tied up for a majority of that evening on mental health patients, leaving a very small number of officers to patrol our city. Our mental health patients deserve better than that, and quite bluntly, our citizens deserve better than that. We are trying to do the best we can with limited resources, and the unfortunate part about mental health cases is we don't have a choice in those. That is a state law that mandates we serve those orders, and so it's not like I can just call and tell the hospital or the mental health folks, sorry, we aren't coming to do that. By law, we are mandated to do that, and that's why we've got to get that law changed. So it's very taxing on our resources. It's taxing on our officers. I had an officer leave not too long ago who said these words: I didn't sign up to sit with mental health patients. That's not why I signed up to be a police officer. I signed up to be out in the community making a difference, and unfortunately it's taxing in that sense too.
Mayor, I had a email chain back and forth with the chief that I don't know if it made its way to the rest of the council, but I'd be happy to share it with you all and ask some questions related to how the ECO-TDO item directly correlates to this conversation, calls for service, percentages, data that I think will be really insightful for the rest of council to know about. I would contend, and I'm pleased to see that this is definitely at the top of the list for our legislative agenda. This needs to be something addressed by Richmond, and we're paying the price, as it were, for the way the law works, but we do need to make sure that we're getting these folks help that they need. So it's definitely going to be a balancing act, but I'm pleased to see it's right at the top. We need to be a city of law and order, and we've seen the past year and a half and how violent it's been locally, and this contributes to it. With 46 operational vacancies and the amount of folks we're tying up in the hospital with this certainly might warrant a letter jointly signed by all 7 of us. I don't know, just anything that we can do on this particular item, I'm willing to explore. Generally speaking, last year I asked for oppositional language to be included for the General Assembly imposing unfunded mandates. I appreciate that's continued. I like a lot of what I'm seeing, emergency custody order, especially the transportation funding. I like seeing something for fire department parity funding, reclassification of public safety telecommunicators. I know Councilmember Wilder brought that up, and that's an excellent idea. Revisions to funding formula for public agencies, various revisions for water quality and environment protection provisions. I know, Tim, we've talked a lot about how those can be quite costly if we don't find some changes to that. I do have one primary concern. I wasn't sure how I felt about the TID yet, but I think Margette alleviated some of my concerns, and it is with the charter amendment. We're communicating it in a way that is a technical amendment, and I may be in the severe minority in this case, but my thought was, while it be a technical change, the intent of council is to move off a federal cycle, and I think the document should reflect that, and it not just be we're just trying to move, because the intent of pursuing this is to get off a federal cycle, and that is a philosophical belief. And I think marketing this as just a technical change, it's not misleading, but it's not the full picture, at least from my perspective.